Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about small software firms. So let's get into it. So the question in question is, Frederick, I am a software development director for a small software firm. Do you have any tips on how to move my company to the next level quickly? Well, I would start by making sure that I have simplified the work and standardized the tooling as quickly as possible. So for a small company, it's usually very important to move as quickly as possible. You need to be able to iterate as quickly as possible. And so I urge you to not make the mistake that quite a lot of companies make, and even most developers make as well, and that is to create your own snares. And what I mean by that is basically that it's not important for you to use all the same tools and all of the same practices as the big companies. Don't you can't afford to slow down your development velocity with a lot of fancy advanced technology that doesn't provide value. So every investment you make in your stack should be very well thought out. And in many cases, it's more important for you to have a very simple workflow that people really understand, like that you really understand well, than it is to have a very advanced one or a very high popularity stack. I'll give you my favorite example. I don't think there is any company type or any platform that is going to work as well just across the board now in terms of if we think about all perspectives now, if for a standard development firm, then say C sharp. The reason why I say that is not because C Sharp necessarily or the .NET framework. I'm not saying that this is the best programming language ever. It's just very well established. If you really just want people to churn out code, it's really hard to beat C Sharp because every single C# developer have a very firm understanding usually of the ecosystem. If you go with JavaScript, you can do the same thing with Node and so forth. It's just that there's so much diversity and so much risk because each developer will have a very different idea of how to do work and how to get them productive, and then you can very quickly create a spider web of a lot of complexity that is unnecessary. You don't need this complexity at small scale. You need to ship stuff quickly. And although C sharp it may not be the fastest in terms of like compilation and like all of this stuff, it is so stable and so low risk in many cases for a company to invest in that they will be able to just keep things that I'm not talking about like a real scale up now, but it's very easy for you to trust that things are going to be stable, and this is really important. It's something that is vastly underappreciated in many software companies, and that is the balance between stability and velocity. You see, when you move really, really fast and you want to scale up your company, as you're saying, as quickly as you want, if you do that too much, the quality of the software that you build is going to start dropping, and the stability which is going to drop, which leads to a lack of trust in the system. And I like to say that every single feature all features are pointless if they don't work. And that balance is really hard. So in order for you to maximize your velocity, you actually have to also maximize the stability of your of the product that you develop, and you can't have both. This is a tug of war. But the best thing for you is to reduce the amount of waste that you the amount of complexity in the development process to the barest minimum. In other words, if you have like a single one or two servers or an infrastructure or something like that that is fairly straightforward, create the simplest workflow that you can possibly make. That of course works. I mean, you have to consider the perspective of the person who's going to run the operations as well. Just create the dumbest, cheapest, simplest thing that you can make, and create a situation where the people working on that platform can be productive as quickly as possible. Don't go down the route of trying to play catch up to the latest trends and so forth. Try to stabilize your company so that you can actually, and then find developers who are just like they're not, you're not going to be able to get the developers who who are only interested in the latest and the trendiest tools. But I promise you, you're not always interested in those sorts of people. You're interested in people who can produce value for your company without compromising the stability and quality of the work that you do. Now, this will lead you to being able to move as quickly as possible, and then you will notice something. Since I was saying that this is a tug of war, now that you have stabilized your platform and your developers feel confident to make changes and actually move really quickly, you're going to be able to move really, really quickly. It's like running a race. Now that you start off well rested and you run as quickly as you can, and then after a little while, you'll notice that the system becomes a little bit unstable, and now you need to slow down a little bit and maybe rest for a moment to restabilize the system and then continue running again. This is going to be much, much better than if you just continuously try to push it, because if you never stop to rest and actually stabilize your product, just as with the runner analogy, you're going to burn yourself out and you're actually going to run slower and slower and slower. And that is something that you need to take very seriously. So what I want you to take away from this is that my best tip for you to scale, to move your company to the next level, is to first and foremost invest in good, solid infrastructure. Not just if you're working in cloud solutions and so forth. That's one part of it. You need a stable production environment, but you also need a stable development pipeline for your developers. They need to be able to feel as if it's low risk to make changes and push things really quickly, because if they are afraid that they will break things, or if you have a lot of bugs and issues and so forth and all these kind of things, you're slowing down your development process, and at some point your system is actually going to suffer, and that's going to reflect in your customers. Their customers are not going to like that you have all these amazing features but they don't actually work. And that is the worst thing that you can do for a software company. Stability and reliability is the most important property. These are the most important properties of software. People expect things to work almost 100% of the time. And no matter how advanced your system is, people will hate it if it doesn't work. Have a great day.